Welcome to The Art of Diablo IV.
Hello, everyone. Hi there. I've been waiting a long time to say this. Hello, BlizzCon! Thank you for humoring me. My name is Elizabeth Seminario. Some of you may have seen me just a few minutes ago on a different panel. But we're here to talk about the art of Diablo IV. So I hope you guys are excited to see some of that. We have some beautiful art to show you, some amazing things to talk about. We have a lot of content to get through. And I just have to say, we're super excited that we can finally say the art of Diablo IV and talk about Diablo IV. This is just so exciting for us. So thank you so much for coming to spend some time with us. I'm going to stop talking and hand it off to our amazing art director, John Mueller.
Hello, BlizzCon. I can say it too. Hello,
You do. Hello, BlizzCon.
All right. This is really fun. We've all been looking forward to this panel for a bit. You know, I think we talked about like what the art panel would be, and you know, I saw a panel years ago, and it was an art director, and he like drolled on about concept art for like 45 minutes. By the end, I was like, so I thought I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to try to share our actual development process with all of you, and kind of pull back the curtain on how we make stuff. So each one of us on the stage here represents a different discipline in the art of game development. First of all, how do you guys feel about the way Diablo IV looks? Do you like it?
Yes.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that question actually
Could have been so bad.
quiet. I appreciate it. OK, so let's see. Here we go. Let's do this. All right. This piece, so concept art. I'm going to talk about concept art because I deal with that a lot. I'm an art director. You know, Aaron deals with character art. Nick deals with animation. Jane with VFX. Matt with the environments. Do you guys like the environments you saw today going around Skosglen in the demo?
Nice.
Like a lot of that blood, a little bit of
gore.
Yeah, a little bit of gore. That's good. And then Sean is our master lighting artist. So all the lighting in the dungeons, he brought all that to life. So. You know, this piece of concept art is kind of interesting because sometimes it serves like concept can serve multiple purposes in development. We did this early on because it was like, you know, I kind of felt like it was like a little bit metaphorical about our own journey because you kind of have the angels on one side and the demons on the other, and it kind of felt a little bit like our past. And then in front of us is this like, you know, the evil unknown of like the journey ahead of us. And we're all on this journey now together because we can finally say Diablo IV.
Yeah.
So we're all going to go through this gate together.
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. So Return to Darkness. I think I said this in the Unveil panel. It's something we talk about like all the time, right? It comes up a lot. You know, and it's a lot of different things. It's not just art. I think this is one of the things I really wanted to like communicate. It's like it's everything from the story that you experience. It's the sound that you hear, and it's sort of the totality of that tone, the tonality that you experience in the game that makes it feel dark. And it's not monotonous. I think that's the one thing. We actually really, you know, if you take all the monsters and blood out of Skosglen, it's actually quite beautiful to look at if you stand along the coastline and just watch the waves crashing. I could hang out there and have a beer and just have a good time. But of course, we filled it with blood monsters. So this piece, you know, this piece really hit this tone for us. You know, it's like we were inspired by medieval art. This was a thing that really was important to us when we started the project. We talked a lot about this. Sean's going to talk about it. It's something that like we didn't look at games, we didn't look at other things. We looked at like old paintings, and this was the lens that we viewed the world of Sanctuary through. And this is really important because it affects everything that we would do past this point. And so this is how it affects our heroes, right? You know, this is like if you've seen hero pieces of Diablo in the past, this piece feels very different. You know, this is the tone, this is the palette, this is the design of the armor, this is the intensity of which the heroes are facing their adversaries. It's the you know, how much magic is in the scene. You know, it's actually kind of like for Diablo, I think we're used to seeing tons of explosions and things going off all the time. We still have that. But we want to present magic in a lower fantasy way with Diablo IV. And of course, Okay, how many people went to the Diablo experience, the Dark Gallery?
Nice.
Did you meet this guy?
Did you get sacrificed?
Who got sacrificed?
Who
Did
got
anybody-
sacrificed?
It was
Yay!
incredible, right? That actor was like, where'd they find that guy?
Amazing. Amazing.
10 of 10 on that guy.
Yeah.
He's coming back next year, right?
10 out of
For
10
sure.
would get sacrificed.
All right, so the Triune cultists. How many cultists have we killed in Diablo? Lots of them.
Lots.
They're bad. They're bad news.
Yeah, they
and
are.
so they basically live in those villages like Korbach, and then they go in the woods at night and do bad things. And this is sort of like when we don't have those boundaries anymore, and we have like a real sense of world for the first time. This kind of art was really inspiring to us as a team. And then we get to do new stuff, like the Drowned. Did anybody kill some Drowned this weekend? I think we probably did. This is the guys that were near the coast, around the Bell, the different events down there. But these are basically the undead that come from the sea. They hear the siren's call, they walk into the ocean, and you never see them again, and then they come back serving these horrible demons. And so, all new monster families are really fun for us to explore. There we go. And then, of course, applying this to like the zones and the regions we have in the world. We have 5 contiguous regions, right? Matt's going to show some beautiful stuff about this. And it's really just been a joy to develop this world, these spaces. Like when you can go from the northern tip of Skosglen through the dry steppes and then down to Hawazar, and there's no loading screens, and it's just, it's a really beautiful world to explore. All the nooks and crannies and, traversals and secrets and things like that. Exploration's really fun. And these concepts really helped define those spaces for us. All right. Now I'm going to show one last thing before I hand it off to Erin, because it's contextual. She's going to show actually cool stuff besides me just waving. See what I mean about the 45 minutes of a guy showing concept art? Nobody wants that. All right. So I'm going to put up an image, and I want you to yell out if you think you know who this is. All right, ready? It's going to happen in 1, 2, 3.
Oh, hey.
Yes, Andariel, yes. So we get to reimagine things, right? And so Andariel, if you played Diablo 2, she's coming back in a very big way in Diablo 4. And she is a demon that scares other demons. She is the demoness of mental anguish. And so we really wanted, we thought, she's so terrifying to other demons that they're the ones who put the chains on her because she's so terrifying. And the heads are the heads of her, like people that wronged her or things like that. But more to come on that in the future. But Erin's team is the team that gets to build it. And so now she's going to talk about character modeling.
Thank you so much, John. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Erin Zaneski, and I'm a senior character artist working with this lovely art team on Diablo 4. My team's responsibility is to take an awesome piece of 2D concept art, like all the paintings that John showed you, and then we translate it into 3 dimensions. We build the physical character models that actually go into the game. Today, I am most excited to show you all the hero work we've been doing for the updated classes. And in effort to embrace the legacy of the entire Diablo series, we are bringing back the Druid from Diablo 2. Thank you. But we decided to give him a tiny update for Diablo 4, mostly around the midsection. So the character art team's main goal for Diablo 4 was to create characters that are more grounded, more authentic and visceral than you've ever seen from Diablo before. We're moving away from the high fantasy direction. So to achieve that goal, we got the help of our awesome engineering team, and they helped us modernize the entire character art process. Now we're using, new art tools. We've got new art technologies, like a new hair shader, new eyeball shader, and actually a really cool fluffy fur shader. You can see it on the druid's shoulders there. And on the wolves, too. If you've played the demo and played the druid, those wonderfully fluffy wolves following you around.
Those good boys.
Just want to pet them. And something else that is completely new to Diablo 4 is our appearance system. Right now, the character team is building a curated collection of appearances for you to choose for your hero. Regardless of your class, you're going to be able to choose from different hairstyles, ethnicities, eye color, even things like scars and jewelry. This is just a little preview of some of the work in progress we have for Sorcerer and Sorceress appearances right now. Let's see. But we all know that Diablo is actually about collecting awesome loot. So I wanted to share with you a few of the legendary armor sets that we're building right now. We have like elemental themes for the Sorceress legendaries, and then more earthy, grounded themes for the Druid legendary sets, and of course some like badass warrior themes for the Barbarian legendaries. So I'd like to give you a little peek behind the scenes into how the character artists actually go about building these in 3D. So of course, first we start out with a piece of concept art, and we use this not only for direction, but also inspiration for what we're going to build. And no longer are Diablo characters just low-res models without normal maps. Now we start the process by sculpting digitally a high-resolution model. It has all the tiny little surface details that you'll see in the game. And then we build a lower resolution wireframe mesh, and this is the model that actually goes into the game. And we take that high resolution sculpture and project all the surface details onto that lower resolution model. And then after that, we have to author roughness textures, metalness textures, and color textures. And we do this according to real-world rules for how surfaces react to light. And that's for use with a physically based rendering system. Sean can tell you more about that later. But that's another thing that's new for our new engine we're using for Diablo IV. And then we put it all together, and it looks like this in-game.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. We're really proud of all the work we've done for that demo. So this is what it looks like in-game. And even though we're going in a more realistic, grounded direction with our characters, we don't cheat. We don't use any 3D scans or anything to make these guys. Everything is handcrafted by a character artist. Let's see. So besides the hero classes, character artists also are responsible for making weapons, NPCs, little ambient critters running around, and of course, monsters. But we just make the static character models, and then this artist here is the guy that brings them to life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, my name is Nick Shalano. I'm the lead animator on Diablo IV. Super excited to be here, so thank you very much. So we wanted to keep the visceral combat and responsive gameplay that you're used to in a Diablo game, but we wanted to improve the visual performance of the characters and kind of bring them up to speed. So we added some new animations, some subtle details, and we added some new technology. I'm going to kind of show you some of those examples and then how they all come together at the end. So this is one of the first animations we added. It's for movement. It's called a run stop. It's very simple. It does a really good job of conveying to you, the player, that your character is reacting to your action. You stop moving, the druid stops moving. You can control the character at any time, but now you're getting that visual feedback, and you're getting some new details and spots you didn't have before. We've also looked at turn animations. So we've tried some more heavy-handed options, but in Diablo you turn instantly, and it feels great, and we didn't want to kind of mess with that at all. So what we've done here is we've taken a left and a right-hand turn, layered it on the upper body. The lower body keeps running, and when you start turning around, you'll see a little bit of weight shift. You'll see a little bit of drag on the upper body. Again, it's a little bit of fidelity, a little bit of detail in places we didn't have. Uphill and downhill runs are something that we've added. They blend smoothly with the normal run. You run downhill, the character's going to lean back to keep their balance. You run uphill, they're going to shift side to side a little more and lean forward. And this is really important to us because we have this huge open world. It's beautiful. It's got rolling hills and height variation and different levels of hill terrain. And we want your feet on the ground. We want you connected to that world. We don't want your feet hanging off of stairs and ledges anymore. So what's really nice about this is it's an immersive world, and your character really feels like they're a part of it now. We've also improved, I see some claps out there. Give it up. Yeah, all right. I like that.
Running up and down hills, man.
We've also improved movement on four-legged creatures. Now, this is where we really leveraged amazing tech and tools from our engineers to give us much more natural movement. We've added new animations like leans and banks and turns, uphill and downhill runs, acceleration and deceleration, all for much more natural movement when it comes to four-legged creatures.
Is that called the bacon technology? Because it looks like he's got bacon in his pockets.
It's bacon tech. We got to be careful. The engineers might get mad at us and fry us when we get back to work.
Oh.
I got bacon bits for days, guys. OK. We're also adding that type of movement onto monsters and mounts, so it looks really organic and natural. And then there's combat. So this is Storm Strike. And what we've done here is we've taken this animation, and we're layering the upper body and lower body. We're splitting it at the waist. So now when the druid attacks with the staff, you get the animation to stay on screen a little longer. It's a little more readable. It supports the skill even better. And you still have control of the character. So you'll notice the druid will swing left or right. As you start to move, the legs will start moving, but the upper body brings the staff back into place. You still have control when you want it, but you just get more readability, and things blend seamlessly and smoothly together. And now this is everything I just talked about kind of happening together. The druid is casting Boulder, casting Storm Strike, commanding the wolves to attack the goatmen, running uphill and downhill, turning, stopping, all seamlessly, smoothly happening together so that you get this visual performance improvement, but we didn't sacrifice any of the gameplay. So that's a little peek into what the animation team has been doing for Diablo IV. Again, we're really excited you get to try it on the demo floor. And next up is Jane to talk about our awesome visual effects.
Hey everyone, my name is Jane. I am a senior visual effects artist on Diablo IV. Oh, thank you. So effects, what are they? As an effects artist, our main job is to communicate gameplay. And so that could be anything from player abilities like throwing off a sorcerer's fireball or a druid boulder to goatman puddles, like anything you need to avoid as a player, or anything to so effects, what are they? As an effects artist, our main job is to communicate gameplay. And so that could be anything from player abilities like throwing off a sorcerer's fireball or a druid boulder to goatman puddles, like anything you need to avoid as a player, or anything to ambient stuff in the character select screen, the campfire in the character select screen, or torches in dark dungeons. So first, I just want to say that I'm super excited to be up here with all these amazing panelists.
Yeah.
And to be talking to you guys, representing the VFX team. We're really excited to share with you some of the really cool things that we've been using to fit our stuff into this really dark world. So the druid is back. Who got a chance to play the druid?
Yeah.
That's awesome. The druid happens to be one of my favorite classes. And the effects team actually got the opportunity to work on what is D4's druid shapeshifting, collaborating with other teams. And what it is, as a druid, you can seamlessly shapeshift from one form to the next, depending on the skill that you're using. So this allows for super seamless, really feel-good gameplay as you tear mobs up across the world of Sanctuary. And one of the really cool things about this that the effects team thinks is that no matter what armor your druid is wearing, it just works. So another one big initiatives of the effects team is to fit our stuff into the world without compromising gameplay, which is our #1 priority, and to still make things feel really impactful. For one of the things that we're using is motion blur. And as you can see here with Rupture and Rallying Cry, that allows us to show force, power, and speed in a way that's a little bit more grounded and toned back.
I like that you think that the most impactful part of that is the motion blur. I think that the guy getting his guts ripped out is a little bit more impactful.
Yeah. That's where we're using it to help you feel that power. Some other things we're using are dynamic lights on effects. So when you throw off a lightning spear and you see it light up the world around, as a player, it makes that really feel like it fits into the world.
Yeah, I think I said in the unveil panel, she brings like this light show, the sorceress, to the world. And how many of you got to play the sorceress this weekend? Yeah. That's my class right there.
And another thing that we're using with the help of Sean's team, actually, is we can now have weather in our effects. And Cataclysm is a perfect example. It's a sunny, bright day in Sanctuary, and then you're a druid, and you call this awesome storm down from the sky. And it's another layer to help us really sell that idea, the idea of a storm. And what better way to do that than to darken the entire screen and really, really sell that idea and help you feel real powerful as a player.
Look at that goat man at the bottom right.
Oh, yeah.
He just gets eliminated.
Wait,
Just
wait.
Right there.
gone.
Wait for it in the right.
Wait for it.
It's coming.
Oh,
There it
look
is.
at that.
Do you think you made it?
I don't think he made it.
Yeah. That guy's super dead.
No, that guy's dead.
Speaking of being super dead,
He's questioning his life choices.
who likes to kill stuff in Diablo? Yeah. It's kind of one of the main reasons why we play the game, right? To kill stuff and get loot and like rinse, repeat. But and we all know it wouldn't be a Diablo game if we didn't have tons of crazy over-the-top deaths for you guys to enjoy. And we've actually tied deaths to skills, so it helps skills feel a little bit more impactful. For example, a blizzard, upheaval. You can skin them with upheaval, cut them in two, smash them with boulder. I don't know, what are some of your guys' favorite deaths?
Decapitation.
Yeah, we have decapitation. You can get burned, disintegrated, a bunch of different stuff. And we really want this stuff to feel super visceral. And we're doing similar things for boss deaths. Not only is it an awesome reward when you see something die in this terrible way, it's also a great way for the effects artist to help reinforce the story and theme behind that boss. For example, Shava wants to use her breath attack one last time, but it explodes in her own chest. And the sea hag, she's this bloated lady from the sea, full of the ocean, and she vomits on herself and disintegrating her own body, and ultimately returning to the sea. So this is another.
Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Like, is anybody else a little worried about what's it?
Well, it's actually really awesome that part of my job is to think of horrible ways for these things to die. But I can assure you, all the effects artists, we're all sane, sort of people. But we wouldn't be able to have all these awesome animated characters or effects if we didn't have a beautiful world for them to exist in. So here's Matt to talk about the environments.
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Matt McDade, the lead exterior artist on Diablo 4. I'm looking forward to giving you all a brief insight on creating environment art for an open world. But first off, let me just begin by saying I'm super proud to be up here with this panel. They're an crazy bunch, and the Diablo team on the whole, incredible. So where do we begin when creating environment art for an open world? Well, before we jump into creating any form of art, one of the first things we look to do is gather solid reference material.
Click.
And due to the grounded nature of Diablo 4, we're able to leverage real-world inspiration based off the criteria given to us in our design team. Let's use Skolskin as an example. You've all played the demo, right? Yeah? Cool. OK. So let's use Skolskin as an example here. We have a druid region with subtle Celtic connotations. So it only felt natural to us that we should gravitate towards medieval Scotland as our main source of inspiration. From there, it's about finding the fabric of the place. What makes it so distinct and appealing to us? So again, for Scotland, we took a cross-section of Scotland, from the Highlands down to the islands, and looked to capture all the geological and biological components that help form the environment's DNA. From the various types of rocks, trees, and vegetation, and how all these things are affected by climate and elevation. As you can appreciate, this equates to a lot of data. But the next phase in our process is where we try and distill all this information into groups that we refer to in-house as biomes. So think of a deciduous forest, a geothermal basin, or even a prehistoric coastline. These are all good examples of biomes. And it's incredibly important that in Diablo 4 we have a diverse range of these biomes, because it helps us communicate to the player that they're navigating through the various regions, all while contributing to that immersive experience. As you can see on the screens, there's some examples of biomes and how they're being implemented into the open world. Big thanks to our engineering team for supporting us with these tools. They're incredible. So once the exterior art team has finalized the biomes, we're then in a position to hand them over to the world building team. Now, this is a team of dedicated artists who are responsible for propagating these visuals throughout the entire region. So it really is a collaborative effort from both teams to ensure fantastic visuals without compromising on gameplay. With that said, though, you can't have fantastic visuals without fantastic lighting. So with that, I'll hand you across to Sean.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Murphy. I'm the lead lighting artist on Diablo 4. And we talk a lot about painting, like John says. We're trying to create a medieval masterpiece. Internally, we talk about this thing called the Old Masters influence. And the question would be, well, what does that mean to a lighting artist? And so let's take a look at some of that stuff. So we have some large exterior regions that we need to cover. We have a lot of dynamic time of day. We have dynamic weather systems. So rainstorms come in to things like G.Skill, and it gets wet when it rains. Your hero gets wet. And when you go inside, they dry off. We have a lot of lower light, lower contrast regions. And then we move into like a higher light, higher key light, higher contrast regions. This is an example of dry steps, and then we'll sort of blend from dry steps daytime down into a nighttime, where we're referencing things like Frederick Remington nocturnal paintings for our color palettes. And so color palettes are pretty interesting because what we do is we take a very naturalistic approach to lighting in this game, where we don't use too crazy colors, and so things are very minimal in terms of their color palette, and we use a lot of atmosphere, and that's sort of what you might call tonalist for anybody out there who's in art history. And so those are the exterior regions, but let's take a look at some dungeons. And these are devoid of daylight. And so spoiler alert, if anybody played the demo, this is the Korbok Crypts. The first two are actually from the demo. This would be the Korbok Crypts entryway. This is Garen Hold. Again, very minimal color palette. This is what we call that approach, where we don't want to get too crazy there. And then here are a couple shots of some tile sets that are actually in flight that aren't in the demo right now. And what we were able to do with our new engine is we're able to take, say, one tile set and gut the lighting completely and redo it. And
y'all love seeing the darkness coming back to the corner of the screen?
Yeah. Yes, that's actually a thing, too, is we don't mind falling away to darkness. We use a lot of actually black depth fog. If anybody out there is like a game dev, that might be meaningful. And but that's the story with that. And so what might it look like if somebody like Matt's team or like the dungeon team hands sort of a tile over or scene over to a lighting artist to do? So what we're going to do is we're going to break one scene down at like broad strokes, and then we're going to kind of relight it and see how that works out for us. So we're going to start with this. This is actually a scene from the Korbok Crypts. And you'll see sort of, we like to call when we light, we like to say we're like painting with light and sculpting with shadow. And so let's basically wipe the slate clean here and build it from the back to the front. So we're going to start from the back, and we use a lot of texture projected spotlighting, and then that allows us to basically shape that light. And we use a lot of analogous colors, which is also a tonalist thing. That just basically means we light clusters of colors next to each other. And we're going to go back, and then the mid, and then we move to the foreground and the exit. And then the next thing we're going to do is pick a single accent color. And so we'll pick, in this case, we're going to do candles. And we're done with our color palette. And then the next sort of thing we need is the gameplay lighting. So we're going to turn on the monster rim lighting and the hero rim lighting. And now it wouldn't be Diablo without that sort of player light fall off. And so that's going to be here, and it's going to fall off to the far edge of the screen. And now we need to add our ambient shadows. We have about 3 different types that we're going to turn on now. So anybody has questions about that, track me down later and we can talk about it. But now it's time to sculpt in those dynamic shapes. So we're going to turn on the shadow maps. And the last but not least, we have a lot of fog. And so these are going to be the volumetric fogs and a couple of other types. And we like to add this back to the scene. We call it areas of rest. It's sort of like a painterly thing. And so that's just like at a high level, sort of what goes through our minds when we start talking about Old Masters influence and whatnot with lighting.
Isn't that incredible?
Awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Sean's like a doctor of light.
A doctor of light.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sean. Thank you, everyone.